Welcome to another episode of Unbearable 73. This is Matt, your host. This video we're going to do reacting to top fives, to some scary space facts that will make you question your life. Well, let's get right into it.
Mrs. Top Fives and I have been hard at work on this channel since we started in 2000.
This guy has the creepiest voice for this.
Of what it has become. We now have multiple channels that range from topics we have always personally found interesting. Topics that encompass our original channel, the Top Fives channel. One of those topics is space. If we're not looking up at the night sky to hunt for UFOs, we're looking up to gaze at the stars and encouraging others to do the same. With this deep personal interest in astronomy, we wanted to further expand on that. That is why we created Access Astronomy. Each week we discuss everything from black holes to space phenomena in depth, and each week we will leave you both more knowledgeable and quite frankly a little more terrified of the wondrous world of space. So if you enjoy the following video, then you will absolutely love what we cover on Access Astronomy. We'll see you there.
So let's see what he got.
As it's the month of Halloween, we thought we would give our viewers a few creepy facts about space and the terrifying possibilities that are posed to us here on Earth. To say that the never-ending astrological plane we have come to know as space is both beautiful and frightening in equal measure is an understatement, to say the least. There are numerous factors within this cosmological vista.
That looks like a face screaming.
From the momentous works
let's
of NASA.
pause this. Okay, I don't know if they did this on purpose or not. Like there's a mouth here. My big head's in the way. Okay. There's a mouth here. There's a nose. There's an eye. There's a hole in the face. It's open like the dude is screaming. And they probably did this subtly on purpose.
From the momentous works of NASA, telescopic engineers and scientists from the past and present, that one should not dismiss the importance of what is out there.
And the fish is looking at the stars.
Likewise, when we look to the stars, via satellites, telescopes, or with the naked eye,
This scene,
there is
this little scene right here, I wonder, I'll try to get the clip at the end, if I can do it fast, okay? I don't think I could, but at the end of TTG, I'll take in Top and Gurren Lagann, which is an anime. It's one of the best single-scene animes you'll ever see. There's a scene where the robots rise up and there's galaxies around, and it looks just like that scene.
definitely something sinister and intensely overpowering about this infinite area that even the most prolific of astronomers are unable to comprehend. So let us begin this Halloween episode of Access Astronomy with a few hauntingly scary facts about space.
Bring it on!
We start with the concept that space itself is in fact silent. We all know the feeling of lying in our beds at night, when that awkward, threatening silence encompasses our body and heightens our senses. That feeling of being watched. For our tiny little globe, the same analogy applies as we Earthlings reside on a planet which is amongst a never-ending multitude of stars, galaxies, and universes that, depending on what you believe, is under the watchful eye of something far greater and more intelligent than ourselves. Whether this is alien intelligence, God, or simply the divine concept of not being alone, such a silent aura may fill oneself with gratitude and hope, whereas for others, the sense of dread and pending doom could never feel so loud. From a factual standpoint, scientists and astrological experts have
There's a
reached
reason
the
for that, by the way.
realization that the ambience of space is indeed silent, due to the fact that sound is unable to travel through what is known as a vacuum.
Not
What
strictly
this term
speaking true.
references is the atmospheric field, or space, which is
2 points
out
at the end
in
of
Earth's
this section.
atmosphere, and thus bereft of any matter. In other words, no air or sound. The technical side of this is that sound travels in waves of energy, These audio vibrations are also known as mechanical waves, which transit and transfer one form of energy to another through a medium of particles. These particles reverberate or echo the energy from its origin source around and outward towards its intended sound via the aforementioned medium. During each wave of energy, the generated
Three things.
particles
That's an example of
eventually lose
Brownian
their
motion that
power
you're
in
seeing
their
on your screen right now.
transference, which is why the sound effectively dies out or doesn't reach its intended target. Therefore, for each individual sound to be transferred and heard, it must rely on the particles, which, as we have come to learn of space, is a huge vacuum due to the colossal, infinite area in which it resides, and therefore is too large to collate such forms of energy. However, the palpability of no emission of sound whatsoever in the universe is not entirely true. We have seen photographs of dust clouds and gas clusters forming in space. These emerge from dead stars, and if densified, create just enough particles to generate a noise. The first recording of energy formed sound in space, which was not man-made, was recorded in 2003 by the Chandra X-ray Observatory from the Perseus galaxy over 250 million light-years away. Though the noise was too low for humans to hear, it was confirmed that a noise had indeed travelled within the vastness of space. So if sound can come to life by itself, without the need for human interference,
That looks like a face screaming
we must
too.
ask ourselves,
See eyes,
what else can it bring to life?
mouth over here.
I guess when it comes to the concept of space, it's best to try and not be too scared. After all, no one would hear your screams anyway.
Okay, so 3 points. I mentioned Brownian motion. If you want to see Brownian motion in real life, watch a video where they make General Chow's chicken. When they make the crust for it, that goop, that's an example of Brownian motion. That goop, that the way it moves. Okay. They mentioned this hearing the sounds in space. They should have mentioned how they did it. It's not particularly scary. The third thing is scary. I'll tell you in a minute. But they're called phonons. Phonons. They're a subatomic particle that kind of how they detected the sound in a black hole in that galaxy with the Chen-Glasgow Observatory. Now, last thing, which is very scary. Okay, you may ask yourself why, when you can't hear anything, when it's absolutely silent, is do you get scared? Okay, well, turns out for animals, okay, who can hear, especially in primates, when you're genetically evolved that you should always hear background noise of some sort. It's the reason some people can't sleep if there's not like a little tick in the background, like a clock or something, like the sound of the highway outside or whatever. And when you don't hear a background sound, you know how you've probably seen in movies and nature specials where everything goes silent in the woods when there's a predator coming in. It's an alert sign to your brain that something is out there making everything else be silent. Okay? So the lack of sound is actually triggering a fear response from you.
Let's forget the variety and ferocity in which comets fly through space for a second, and let us look at something a little more stationary.
This one isn't particularly scary, I guess, because I'm into the science and stuff.
Jupiter, the fourth brightest object that resides in the solar system, is a gargantuan spectacle of a planet, and one that requires us to be afraid, very afraid, when we look at the multitude of facts and formalities in relation to its size. In terms of numbers, Jupiter is considered to be 318 times greater than the size of Earth, and measures approximately 2.5 times more than all the other planets in the solar system combined.
Mm-hmm.
That is huge for a planet that can only be seen in the night sky with both average equipment and that of the naked eye. Only Venus is brighter in terms of planetary illumination. One of the most fascinating discoveries in relation to its sheer size and scale is the mind-blowing eventuality that if Jupiter grew any more in magnitude, it would in fact get smaller. What do we mean by this? If the planet gained additional mass to its already Goliath stature, it would encounter the adverse effect of
True to a
becoming
point.
denser and therefore pull in upon itself. Strange, but eerily true. Again, to try and comprehend the greatness and enormity of the gas giant, we must also examine and
So at one point for the
understand
end.
the speed in which it moves. With constant, fantastic discoveries that are being made each and every day by the likes of NASA, it has been calculated that Jupiter moves extremely quickly, with a rotational velocity of 12.6 kilometers per second.
Pretty fast.
That is less than half a day to complete a full rotation on its own axis. An important note to be made, as the planet is unable to experience weather-like seasons due to its 3.13 degree tilt in the solar system. Surrounded by dangerous radiation, we are unable to approach Jupiter too closely. It is also surrounded by faint, almost non-visible rings, much like Saturn, and has 53
Yeah, that was
named
interesting
moons,
discovery
with
on.
another 26 to be named in the future. The largest of these moons being Ganymede, which is also coincidentally the largest moon in the entire solar system, and bigger than the neighbouring planet of Mercury, measuring 5,268 kilometres across. It is not called the King of Planets for no reason. When we study Jupiter more closely, we find that it is truly ferocious. Not only does the big red dot on its surface, which is believed to be a raging storm that has been ongoing for over 350 years, the fifth planet from the Sun is now known as a planet eater. Yes, you heard that right. According to scientists who recorded their findings in the Journal of Astronomy and Astrophysics, Jupiter contains the remnants of other planets within its core. According to the paper and that of NASA's Juno space probe, pictures identify that Jupiter most likely came to be so large and ravenous in nature by effectively eating nearby small planets, or planetismals as they are also known. Considering Earth is the third planet from the Sun doesn't fill many with much hope that if there was to be a shift in the Milky Way at any point in the
fact
future,
that Jupiter did that is the reason
Earth as
Earth
we know
exists and
it
is
may be
protected.
next on the menu for the so-called vacuum cleaner of the solar system. Let's hope she isn't hungry anytime soon.
Okay. So, first point, when the solar system was forming, there's some interesting concepts about that the mass points where Jupiter and the Sun were just happened to get ahead of the other mass points, and then it began a race to see which one could gather more mass to become the star, and that was obviously the Sun. Jupiter is nowhere near becoming a star. I know there was 2010, the year Milky Contact, the movie and the book which did that. Wouldn't even last 1,000 years. Doesn't have enough mass. The interesting thing about the size shrinking, is there's something called the gravitational binding energy of a planet, and basically that's like the amount of energy or mass a planet contains is a formula that says how much gravity it's going to exert. Okay, and the more mass, the more gravity, the more it will pull in, and so forth. So that's kind of the interesting thing there. Well, that's the most interesting thing. There's compared to the inner solar system is what's inside the orbit of Jupiter, right? So between Jupiter and the Sun. Outer solar system is from Jupiter outward. The Jupiter primarily, but also Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune do a great job sweeping up space debris that would otherwise be pulled in by the gravity of the Sun and therefore could risk hitting the Earth. So they're like big vacuum cleaners protecting the inner solar system. If you did a sort of statistical analysis of mass, but presence of mass in the solar system, there's a lot more of it even in the empty space of the inner solar system than there is in the outer solar system. And Jupiter and Mars, gravitationally speaking, keep the asteroid belt between them as opposed to drifting all over the place and hitting us. So that's pretty interesting stuff there. It's not that Jupiter has nothing to fear. There's more to be worried about with the first thing with. As I mentioned. The fact that we're not hit by more
As covered in the previous
extinction-level asteroids is Jupiter protects us from that.
As well as the scientists and experts behind advanced satellite and telescopic calculations.
This is an
things are
interesting
under
one.
Control. Well, not quite. In the last of these creepy facts, or in this case, speculation, it seems we don't know everything, or can see everything around our little planet. Earlier this year, the Gaia Space Observatory, launched in 2013, whose mission was to measure the positions, motions, and distances of stars, discovered something truly terrifying. Expected to complete its operations in 2025, the spacecraft may just have gathered enough information in time to save us from a doomsday-like scenario. According to the satellite's calculations and documentations of the stars, it found that there are thousands upon thousands of asteroids in the solar system that we have never seen before.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Seemingly come out of nowhere.
And there's still thousands
As
more
we
of them
know,
we still
there
haven't
are
found.
considerable meteors, comets, space rocks, and other such objects that are constantly flowing through the abundance of space. Some are easy to identify, whereas some are a little more peculiar, and shall we say, extraterrestrial in nature. The concept and possibility of aliens, UFOs, and other such entities is another topic for another day. However, the unidentified aspect of these asteroids will undoubtedly send shivers down the spines of many.
They're basically
Astronomers and
cold, the same
astrophysicists
temperature
sigh
as
candid
space.
when
They only
tell
heat
us
up
that
when
a
they
single
accelerate towards a
asteroid,
mass,
known
like the
or
sun.
unknown, has the capabilities of crashing into Earth and wiping everything and everyone from its shores, much like the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. The number of these so-called invisible asteroids ranges and is ever increasing. The current count is upward of 150,000,
Oh, it's
10
probably
times
millions
more
of them.
than the experts ever predicted or registered within the vicinity of Earth's atmosphere. The number and scenario range doesn't make for great reading. Best case is that a minor physical impact would create a major power outage and internet apocalypse, which could last months or even years. For some of our younger viewers, the thought of not having a mobile phone or internet at one's disposal
One of the things
for even
Bezos
a
and
minute is enough to cause
Elon
panic,
Musk space
fear,
companies, they have
and
separate space companies.
devastation amongst a
One of the things they
certain
want to do
demographic.
to deal with these asteroids is
Therefore,
basically
we'll have
mine
to
them. If you
suffer
mine them to
endless
nothing,
complaining from our
then
children, as
the
well as a
Earthwoods especially,
cataclysmic shock
you
wave.
reduce the danger.
Another statistic, which isn't overly beneficial, is that scientists believe 90% of the aptly named planet-killer objects, which are larger than 0.6 mile in diameter, and around 50% of city killers have already been located and identified within Earth's vicinity. The fact that we are now hearing of invisible asteroids, which have been lurking in the shadows of space, will surely reduce these percentages to a worrying degree. Another statistic presented from scientists states that the possibility of a massive asteroid shower or solar storm occurring on Earth's soil is estimated between 1.6 and 12% per decade. Quite a spectrum to take your pick. So we either attempt to function with no
They're a
power,
regular impact. If you
internet,
follow
or
the
food
news, you'll hear about
production, or we
very
take a
small
stab in the
impacts
dark
constantly
as
around
to
the world.
whether and when an asteroid will strike. Not much of a choice, I'm sure you'll agree. And so this is where we end our special episode of Access Astronomy for the Halloween Marathon month.
So this is a
We hope
promo
these
video
snippets
for their
of
other
facts,
channel. I'll link to that below as
predictions,
well.
and speculations haven't frightened you too much. There is so much more for us to explore when we think about space and the unlimited
Now I could think
stars,
of
planets, and galaxies.
quite a few
that
things a bit more
surround
scary
us.
than this.
Global warming, pollution, and man-made catastrophes.
So let's, for example, scarier than this. Let's see if I can find it. Black hole death laser. Here we go. No, at the center of each galaxy is a basically a black hole that spins very rapidly. It's gigantic. It's eating the whole galaxy. It's the gravitational force that holds the galaxy, and that's why it swirls. And those two black so let's pretend that our friend here is a galaxy. His head, as it's spinning, right? At each pole is a concentration of subatomic particles, gamma rays mostly, that is shooting out in a Death Star type beam that literally even through the vastness of interstellar space, when it hits other galaxies, it's like a Death Star beam that just erodes and just kills anything. If like if it goes through middle space, nothing. It's gonna keep traveling until it disperses. But if it hits a planet, it just wipes out everything on the planet. Like hitting it with a giant sandblaster that had traveling at like millions of miles per hour. And every galaxy has one of those effects going on. You know, that's scary. Coronal mass ejection that are scary. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that really really scary when it comes to space. Anyway, it's a good video. Check their channels out. Top Fives and Access Astronomy. This is Matt. It's been Unbearable 73. That's the video, and I am out of here.